Hey, Frantzy, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you, Asher. Thank you for having me
You're very
again.
welcome. For anyone who doesn't know you, who do you say you are?
Good question. For anyone who doesn't know me, I would say I am a, I want to say second generation or first generation Haitian American artist. I want to say artist,
Hmm.
but I think artist may be too profound of a word.
Hmm.
I'm not sure. I just don't like to say multi-hyphenate,
Hmm.
if that makes sense. Just because I think putting it all under one umbrella is better. But the things that I do are even under the umbrella of filmmaking
Hmm.
are writing, directing, acting, producing, cinematography, editing,
Hmm.
and sometimes I dabble into sound. So sometimes sound engineering. Um, Also, I used to draw, but I still input those I guess that element into my filmmaking. So I don't know if that would be considered being an artist,
Yeah,
but I call it being an artist. I know that that's a very I don't know.
loose term.
Yeah, it's a loose term. It could be very trivial, but it doesn't have to be that. But
Hmm.
any if anything, you could say multi-hyphenate, but I like to call myself an artist just because I feel like when I dabble into those things, I take it on as art.
Hmm.
So that's probably what I would refer to myself as. And very humble, very kind. I love to laughed, like past tense. I love laughing. I love to be an entertaining guy. I love to be a guy who smiles often. I like making people feel good, and I like to be an honorable person. What does that look like? Someone who just has a lot of respect for others and all walks of life, and hopes he gets that in return.
Hmm.
And yeah, man, I don't like to have judgment on people. I like to be curious of all human beings and what they are, what they represent, their cultures. I learned a lot about that from my wife as well,
Hmm.
who is a traveler, heavy on the travel.
Hmm.
And although I've always been sort of a traveler in my heart and in spirit,
Yeah.
I, as soon as I met her, I've started traveling a lot more and being just more adventurous. So I would say to sum me up, and I know that was long.
No, that's
Sorry.
good. That's you. I mean, it speaks to your life because I think in asking the question, I'm not trying to box you in, so to speak. It's like, hey, like share with the world who you are because I think too many times we're kind of like we're stuck to our titles and we're stuck to our what people perceive us as, which I mean, it's right, wrong, or indifferent. It is what it is. Like we kind of talked about it a little bit, but it's like it's your time to express yourself.
That's right. It's My Time podcast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I the way I see it, in this life, man, you know, that's how I feel. I am, people can perceive you in multiple ways of however they took you on in that chapter of their life.
Mhm.
There to some people, I may be in a hero of all heroes. To some people, I may be a villain,
Mhm. Right.
based according to their morals, my morals, what I stand for. I could have been someone who said no to someone many times. I could have been someone who was a yes man at some point, but I do know at this point in my life, um, I'm a very reserved individual.
Mhm.
I know I'm talking a lot right now, but in outside spaces, man, I'm very quiet. I love, again, like I said, I love to be happy. I love to make people happy.
Mhm.
I like making people feel good
Yeah.
in their present moment. I like to learn about them. Like I said, I like to be curious of others because everyone's story is important. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's the type of individual I am, and I take that on also with my skill set, which I
Mhm.
would say is my artistry, which is filmmaking, writing. I think learning about others and learning what their lives are made of or come from or has grown to be
Mhm.
is so important. Like all these walks of life have such so their stories are so pertinent and important to everything. I think it's the foundation of all life to find stories of every single individual
Mhm.
because I think all our stories make up like this beautiful world that we're in. Although there are dark parts of human beings,
Mhm.
there are also beautiful parts of human beings, and I think it's all like this sort of collage of life,
Yeah.
and it creates like one I want to say glorious idea of connection, and I think that's what I'm trying to get to,
Yeah.
especially when with my artistry,
Mhm.
and I think that's my responsibility to create connection between others, between people, and and I think when it comes to filmmaking, you have the element of visuals and you have the element of sound.
Mhm.
And I think what I love about filmmaking is that you can incorporate music and you can incorporate visual stimulants.
Mhm.
And in that, you can have a story.
Yeah.
And having all these three elements is, I think, unmatched. I think you can do so much there. And I
Yeah.
think, again, like I said, I think there's a responsibility there. And I think it is creating connection
Mhm.
between all humans, finding a space to create connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing I want to say too, I think music is such a force. It's I think Jaguar Wright said this. She said, well, I heard this from her. She said,
Mhm.
music is the only thing um, that the human brain can't refuse.
Mhm.
Like, because once you hear music, it's like, you remember those sound waves, that
Yeah.
frequency for a reason.
Mhm.
It's like you can refuse hearing what someone had said. You can forget that. There's so many things you can forget, but
Right.
for some reason you'll remember a musical tone or like a chorus or a hook or like a verse. Just like earlier when I was doing the Lupe verse,
Yeah. Yeah.
like it's like something that the brain can't refuse. And I think when you infuse that with visuals, stimulants, and like a story, it can create like this package of memorization and feeling. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Almost like it can create nostalgia. It can create like a powerful impact. And I think that's what I mean by there's a responsibility there. And
Mhm.
I think as humans, the one thing that we have and that we can take with us throughout all our life and beyond life,
Mhm.
like death, is our memories,
Mhm.
and things we remember and we experience. So
I think that's dope.
that was long.
But I appreciate it. And what you highlighted on were several things we probably touch that we probably connect on because it's like you being a Haitian immigrant, first generation. I believe I'm either also first generation or second generation Cameroonian immigrant. And just kind of growing up about the same age, around the same time frame. We talked about the 90s before Patty Mayonnaise, like
Yeah,
Doug, different things like that. And that speaks to those cues where it's like you have the theme song that comes in, you have the visual, you have the artistry that's drawn there, and it's all those things that you grow up with. You can either they don't necessarily leave you, but you can keep parts of them that make you more of who you are, or you kind of find your way in the world as you develop who you are. And I was sharing with you that I'm an engineer, and maybe that
Yeah.
doesn't come off in doing a podcast. And it's like even doing foundation engineering or geotechnical engineering, where it's that you're literally based on the plans that people have to go forward in constructing something. It's your job or it's your role to explore what's beneath the ground. We call it subsurface exploration, and basically give them an idea of what type of soil they have and what problems or considerations they might make for building. And it's like when you grasp it, it's an idea of like getting a chance to like play in the dirt is a short way that I describe it, because it's like you
Yeah.
literally have to get used to classifying dirt with your hands. Or some people might get offended, other people might say soil, because it's like it's a mix of things. You have sands, clays, and silts, or gravel, sand, silts, and clays, whatever order you want to put them in. But it basically goes into this gradual decline where you have things that are like really heavy and hard, and like to things that are very fine and like plastic almost. And the ground does funny things because you don't know what's there, but geologists over time have kind of taken surveys and explorations whenever like either geologists, combination of archaeologists, like a lot of the National Geographic things, people that really take the time to study things and do studies, they write reports on them, and that gives us an idea to say, hey, this is the type of material you can expect here. Like you being down in Florida, me being in South Georgia, it's like we see, we obviously have a lot more sandier material. And then you have clays that kind of hang out down there. And if you know anything about being in a swamp, it's like you're not going to be doing a whole lot of building in there unless you have like specific recommendations where you don't want water to collect around you, because water brings in a lot of critters. You get obviously your mosquitoes. I'm sure you guys have gators that just walk around like they're just part of the neighborhood and different things like that. Personally, I haven't seen any like face to face in person, but I've heard stories about them, and I've seen like maybe carcasses, or I've been where they've been afterwards. Like, of course, you'll see snakes, you'll see different things like that. But being able to being able to do engineering for me has been a neat thing, because it's like I get to do a lot of problem solving. And one thing that you were kind of asking me earlier, it's like you would have thought, oh, like, wait, you're an engineer, because you'd be like robotic. And it's like there's there's like there's a part of the job that maybe might make you seem robotic, but
Mm.
also there's a play to it that goes with your personality. People that are more into things versus like people, they focus more on like, this is the task at hand, I've got to get this done. So their soft skills might not be as well developed, but it's something that I've tried to work on over the years, where it's like trying to be more personable, or learning how to speak better, how to communicate, how to actually understand that no matter what scale of project you're working on, whether it's $1,000 project or $1 billion project, you're dealing with people, from the people that drew up the plans to the people that've got to build the plans. It's like you can tell if you're going to have a good or bad experience based on who you're talking to, how they talk to you, and how they treat you. And then it lets you know, I probably don't want to work with that person again if I can avoid it. Unless like money's really tight and I've just got to bite my tongue and grit through it. It's like if I can pick out my all-star teams and work with these people, it's like I'll do that. But then like learning from my managers and supervisors and things like that, it's like through being an engineer, you're kind of forced to be a leader, whether it's like you're going to be in a management role or you're going to be interacting with different people, where like people might bring their stuff or they might have whatever they have in their mind, but your goal is to get the job done, do it in a safe manner, but also do it, at least if you want to be effective, to where people want to keep working with you. Like if you want to play well, you want to do a good enough job that people remember you for the right reasons, and they're like, oh, I want to work with that person again. So that's those are some of the things